What an event UFC 320 was. Edmund Shabazian over Andre Muniz. Going into the fight, really thought Edmund, ever since he went to the new camp, and just seeing his development in the UFC. He got into the UFC at such a young age, so he's pretty much grown up in the UFC. Seeing him kind of just piece his whole arsenal together and piece his striking together. Going into this fight, the odds makers definitely saw him as a big favorite over Muniz. And that was the result that we got. Edmund puts out Andre in the first round pretty convincingly. I mean, just poured it on him. And then just moving forward, we've got Patchy Mix, Jakub Wiklax. Patchy Mix, man, I mean, a rough first fight in the UFC against Mario Bautista. He really had a chance in that first fight against Bautista because, I mean, after all the controversy against Mario after the Jose Aldo fight, there was a lot going against him, and he pretty much completely turned that narrative in the Patchy Mix fight. And odds makers still minus 300 against Wiklax. I mean, they saw Patchy really coming out here. I mean, you look at Patchy's resume, it was great from Bellator. But in the UFC, the level of guys that they have here, and yes, Patchy might be a bit out of his prime, but 0-2 in the UFC now, it is going to be very interesting to see if he is still on the roster. If they give him another fight, it's just going to be very tough for him now. 0-2 in the UFC, he's got a long way to work back. And I'm very interested to see if he's still on the roster. If he is, want to see what they put him up against. But Jakub, man, I thought he looked great everywhere. On the feet, grappling. And, I give him props. I mean, he gave Patchy a tough run for his money. Split decision. I think I had Wiklax, 2-1 maybe. But, I mean, I know some people were saying Patchy 2-1 as well. So, I mean, either way. Daniel Santos, Jusang Yu. Daniel Santos, I mean, it seemed like a pretty even fight coming out in round one. Yu was showboating a little bit when Santos had him against the cage. Seeing Oliveira in Santos' corner when Oliveira has a fight in Brazil next week, that was a bit interesting. But seeing Oliveira at the Contender Series Tuesday night as well, I mean, very interesting as he has to fly back to Brazil and, fight Saturday against Rafael Fiziev. So that'll be very interesting. Or no, Mateusz Gamrot now. Fiziev is out, Gamrot's in. That is going to be a banger fight next weekend that I am very much looking forward to between Du Bronx and Mateusz. But Santos, it looked great. Just piece Jusang coming out in round two. Made quick work of him in round two, and, on to the next one for him. Atiba, I mean, Tristan Vines, I want to say Tristan's from Alabama, so shout out Alabama, Roll Tide. But going into the fight, man, I mean, the pure size difference. You see the picture of them at the weigh-ins, and it's just, I mean, who wants to fight this guy? Nobody. So, I really respect Tristan Vines for getting in there and stepping up against Atiba. Nobody wants to fight this guy. He is a huge middleweight. I don't know how he makes this weight class. He looked amazing, came out and smoked Tristan and won. It was what he was supposed to do. The odds, I think, going into the cage, he was minus 4,000 on some sports books, some never heard of stuff. But I mean, it was very warranted, and he made quick work of him. Abu, Pyfer made this fight. I mean, round one. I mean, I think Abu took round one, but Pyfer in round two just really put it on him. I think that's been the game plan against Abu Magomedov is tire him out. Get his gas tank and just wear on him, right? I mean, you want to pour into his gas tank as much and make Abu work. Because, again, going back to the Strickland fight is a great example, but he just seems to not do well past the first round. And, going into the deep waters, it just seems like that was Pyfer's game plan and to just wear on him. And as the fight went on, that's what he did. Subbed him in round two. Saw him walk over to Dana after the fight, maybe asking to get on that White House card like a lot of fighters are right now. But it should be interesting to see what's next for Pyfer. And Abu as well. Abu, he just had a rough run with the cardio. He's got to fix that issue because that has been a continuous issue for him in the octagon. Josh Emmett, Youssef Zalal. I really thought Emmett would have I like the line and the value of plus 330 of Josh Emmett. He is one of the hardest hitting featherweights we have ever seen. Shout out Jeremy Stevens. I just really thought that he would have gave Zalal a tougher run for his money, but Zalal came out, he had the great game plan. Get Emmett down early and just as quick as you can get him out of there. That is what you want to do against Josh Emmett. You do not want to stand and bang with this guy. And respect to him. I mean, he looked great. See if he's going to get a top 5 guy next. I know he called out Lerone Murphy. See what's going on. The 45 division has movement. So we're going to see if he gets a Lopez, gets a Murphy. He's going to have to work his way up to that Volkanovski or that title shot. If Volk is holding that title at the beginning of next year, he is definitely a contender in this division now. He proved that against Emmett tonight that he belongs, and it is going to be very interesting for both guys. I think Emmett he's still got a couple more fights in the tank, man. That power he still has in his hands, and he's just a massive featherweight as well. I mean, his upper body and the power that he possesses, it's going to be interesting to see if he still wants to go again. My personal fight of the night, Jiri and Khalil Rountree. I mean, Khalil, man, you're up 2-0 going into round 3. I was very critical, texting some of my buddies about this fight. Khalil was so aggressive in round 3, and that really surprised me that, I don't know why. He let Jiri back into the fight. And respect to Khalil, he always brings a tough fight, and, you never know with the judges' scorecards, but I thought he was convincingly up 2-0. Jiri potentially injured in this fight. I know the commentators mentioned it just wasn't Yuri's best performance in the first couple of rounds, and Jiri really just poured it on him in round 3 as Rountree just started to gas. But going into those first 2 rounds, man, I really thought that was some of the best Rountree that we saw. Even going back to the Pereira fight where we saw Rountree really dig Poatan into deep waters. I mean, he is just undoubtedly, he's a contender in this division. He belongs in this top 5. He's just got to win some of these fights, man. And this was a very winnable fight for Jiri. I would have really liked to have seen Khalil pull this one out because that was a rough knockout for him. This is now back-to-back tough knockouts for him. But as much as I love Khalil Rountree as a fighter, Jiri as a fighter, I've loved him ever since he came into the UFC and put out Uzdemir in round 1. Ever since Yuri's gotten into the UFC, he has put on nothing but exciting fights. Even in the times that he's lost to Poatan, he's always put on exciting fights, and he is undoubtedly a contender. I would be very interested to see if they go with Jiri versus Poatan for a third time, given that, it's 2-0 in favor of Poatan, but the second fight being a weird short notice fight. How does that factor in? Do they go with an Oberg? Do they match up Oberg with another top light heavyweight like Jiri and maybe go a different direction with Poatan? Be very interesting to see what goes on in this light heavyweight division now. But I mean, again, there's movement in this division, and it's gonna be very interesting going forward. A guy that I think needs to be considered and recognized as possibly one of the greatest UFC fighters. He is making his way onto my personal top 5 greatest of all times. He's very close. If not already there. Like, I would have to do some thinking and some brainstorming. I'm saying this right after watching another masterclass by Merab Dvalishvili. I just, every time I watch the kid, I'm very impressed with him every time he steps into the octagon now. His cardio, his pace, his striking against a guy like Sandhagen. And he's doing this, his striking against O'Malley and his striking against Cory Sandhagen is what is really surprising me, because he is just blitzing in and throwing wild, offbeat 1-2s, just random. They're not the most technical strikes at all, but he's just throwing and he's connecting with them. And as soon as he connects with a couple, man, you're just like, this guy, I mean, how do you beat him? How do you beat him, and who beats him? As of right now, I don't know who can beat this guy. He is undoubtedly, he could be pound for pound number 1. I know you give it to Islam or Topuria, but this guy, I mean, his run that he is on, beating Peter, Aldo, O'Malley twice, Sandhagen, Umar, Cejudo, Marias, I mean, this guy's record is just insane. And what he's done to this bantamweight division after Aljamain Sterling left, he has taken over the division and just undoubtedly worked himself up to be one of the faces of the UFC. Every time he gets in the octagon, he gets praise and people love this guy. And a lot of people don't like he makes the wrestling and the shooting very exciting, and that is something that not a lot of fighters can do. But the pace and the wear and tear that he puts on his opponents, the fans just respect it because they know how exhausting that is to be on the other side of it, but to also just continually. These performances, it's the same performance over and over and over again, and he's doing it against different styles, different people, and at different timelines. I mean, he's just undoubtedly pound for pound top 3, one of the greatest of all time, the greatest bantamweight of all time. Undoubtedly, you can't debate that now. Just the greatest bantamweight, Merab Dvalishvili. Cory Sandhagen, I would like to see him and O'Malley fight. I think that is still a fight that needs to happen. I think for Cory, he's still one of the best bantamweights on the roster. I mean, he's one of the best, well-rounded. Cory's only shot against Merab was to really put his lights out, and it was going to take a flying knee, or it was going to take something along those lines to really hurt Merab or attack his body. If he invested in the body earlier in the fight, I would have liked to have seen that, and I would have liked to have seen Cory in the takedown situations throwing elbows to the side of Merab's head when he is in on single and double legs, to where you I think that would have really added up in a 5-round fight, to where that could have set up some more openings in the later rounds, or potentially one of these elbows really hurts him. But I really would have liked to have seen just the elbows on the inside of the side of Merab's head. That is something that I saw, but easier said than done against a guy like Merab. The pace and the wear and tear that he puts on everybody, out of this world. And going into the main event, just masterclass performance by the new light heavyweight champion. Bounces back after probably the worst performance of his UFC career, and just annihilates Magomed in one. The elbows to the body after putting him down with a right hand, and just the masterclass that he put on. I mean, I was just so impressed with Pereira. The aggressiveness, and that it seemed like he really just wanted to pour it on Magomed and really make a statement in this victory, and which is what he did. Magomed, what do you do, man? I mean, it was just one of those nights in the office. I mean, after the right hand landed, it was Magomed didn't fight back. The elbows to the body and the elbows to the head, even with the hand being over the head, those elbows hitting the rib and then hitting on the wrist and the hand. There was no getting up from that. The damage was already done. It was a good stoppage. Pereira reclaims his title back in the pound-for-pound convo. Still one of the craziest speed runs and one of the craziest stories in MMA history in Alex Poatan Pereira. Magomed, what do you do with him? Do you give Magomed versus Olberg and then Jiri with a title shot, or vice versa? Do you do Magomed versus Jiri, give Olberg the shot, get some new blood in the light heavyweight division, and go from there? See if Pereira wants to stick around. If he teases heavyweight, be very interesting to see after Gane and Aspinall how that fight plays out. See if he wants to tease heavyweight, maybe give Pereira, a Volkov or somebody at heavyweight. But I think you could really justify giving Pereira a title shot at heavyweight off rip. I don't know if Pereira would want an Aspinall in his first heavyweight fight. Maybe, test himself against one of the top contenders, see how he does. But he is a bit older now, so very interesting movement at light heavyweight now. See what goes on. I'm excited to hear what him and Dana have to say. But this sets up a lot of great fights. UFC 320 was a great card. Make sure in the comment section, just let me know what y'all thought of the card, what fights y'all think are next. I'm going to have some more predictions for next week's Mateusz Gamrot versus Charles Oliveira. I'm excited to get back into YouTube and excited to really get back into MMA content creation, as this is something that I'm trying to pursue, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. See y'all.